GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.
You know, we have this preconceived notion about bravery and strength being these masculine brute strength kind of ideas. You know, a Kedarnath or a Zara Hatke has been celebrated and celebrated and celebrated, but a Lavajkal has now actually been forgotten. Just the fact that my body language at interviews for 3 days has been different to what it's ever been before. Because I'm coming with a little bit of surety in my own self. I'm not feeling the need to entertain my interviewer with a rhyme or a joke. My mom is already proud of me. My father has messaged me saying he's moved. My dadi thinks that this is lovely.
You have this entertaining persona. Do you feel that sometimes that goes against you?
Yeah, it does. It does, because I think that people think that because I'm funny, or people think that because I'm, you know, silly or goofy, I can't be more than that. What used to bother me is when people started saying, she's too loud. That bothered me because I realized that they are right. I'm trying to overcompensate. But when people say, oh, she's pretending to be cheap and all, it doesn't bother me, because anybody that really knows me will know the truth. When we don't say that the men in the family allow them to work, when we don't make statements like that, then we've reached an even higher level. When we stop saying, oh, Kareena's so professional, she has 2 children and she works. Let that just be the normal.
It is the
because
normal.
Women can do it, and Kareena's shown that she can. My grandmother's shown years before that. My mother's shown. She's never made Ibrahim and me feel like we might lack anything. She's given us wings to fly. She's also been our grounding factor to make sure we don't fly too high. She's been my mirror. She's been my inspiration. She's done it all single-handedly.
Hailing from heavyweight lineages, both from a father's side and grandmother's side, it's no secret and it's not a shocker for anybody to see Sara Ali Khan play an unsung warrior. And when I watched the trailer of Ae Watan Mere Watan, and before that, I think this time I was in an interview and my mother watched it. And she told me that I really love how they have created, and this is a reality, because my grandfather, Bapi, he's no more, but so my mom was telling me that there were albums where she could see, and she's heard those stories about radio, because they grew up in an environment when we hadn't gotten independence. So she said that I relived those stories, and what better compliment to start that on. Thank you for doing this for Galatta India, Sara. And I did call you to tell you that not many a times do we see women unsung warriors being celebrated in films, but when they do, people really, really connect with it. You come from lineages where there has been connections to history, right? When it came to you, is this the first unsung warrior story that came to you, and did it connect with you because you are also an avid history lover?
You know, Nan, I think what connected with me the most because of my history degree was the fact that I didn't know about her. And I think it's that guilt that really got to me, that if I, as an avid history reader, doesn't know about her, there's no way the layman knows about her. And the contributions that she had to the freedom struggle were just so much. You know, we have this preconceived notion about bravery and strength being these masculine brute strength kind of ideas, that we don't understand the degree to which the sacrifice that she made becomes, there's soft sacrifices. She adopted celibacy. She gave up her life with her father. She started broadcasting radio where it was illegal, where the punishment would have been the death penalty. And she did all of this just because she knew that the nation was going through an injustice. She knew that she needed to stand up and do the right thing. And it's stories like this that I think deserve to be celebrated.
Absolutely. But do you feel like, Sara, did you connect with the character because on a more personal level? Because like you said, I was going to bring it up a little later in the conversation, that she spoke against injustice of any kind, right? And she spoke and she stood up for it. In life, we often tend to feel that if somebody comes from a place of privilege, they don't face injustice of any kind, which is absolutely not true. When you have been in situations where you felt like something that was happening was not justified to you, especially because you're a woman and today's Women's Day, did you speak up for yourself? Did you take a stand?
Always. I always have. But I have honestly, Nan, been privileged enough, you know, in a lot of ways where I haven't been put in that position as yet. You know, I've been protected by my mother. I think that the audiences and the media have given me a lot of love and a lot of respect and a lot of forgiveness wherever it's been needed. you know, a Kedarnath or a Zara Hatke has been celebrated and celebrated and celebrated, but a Love Aajkal has now actually been forgotten. So that way, they have been very forgiving with me. I am born to a secular family in a secular country
Yeah, I was gonna come to
in a sovereign democratic republic. So I've never felt the need to, and I'm not a rebel without a cause. अगर
Yeah.
ज़रूरत नहीं है तो चिल्लाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि है नहीं ज़रूरत. So obviously the stakes of Usha Mehta's life in 1942 are not, we can't compare. But I definitely believe that the spirit of standing up for what's wrong is within me. So if I see it happening to not just me, but to anybody around me,
Yeah.
I will stand up for it.
You know, a lot of people say, and we've read in history, that the British's main weapon was divide and rule. And India actually got its independence because we, from the time we started thinking that we are united, we came together. And when you speak about secularism, I was going to come to that, that, you know, you come from a secular household where possibly you've not been taught to divide, where you've possibly not been taught to discriminate. But still, because you are an influencing person, and because you're an idol, and because you belong to a family, when you get judged, when you get questioned for your surname, when you get questioned for your entire family tree, does it hurt you as a person? Has it ever gotten to you even as a youngster?
No. I think the only thing that hurts me is if people don't like my work because I work for them. My work is for my audiences and the media in that order. And if they don't like my work, it bothers me. But my religious beliefs, or my personal beliefs, or my food choices,
Yeah.
or how I decide to go to the airport, that's my decision. And I'll never apologize for that.
I remember having this conversation with Alia, which I spoke to you when we spoke about the trailer, just before Razi had released. You know, everybody thought that Razi would be a great film after the trailer. But even the ones who thought that Razi would be a great film content-wise, couldn't imagine the numbers it did. And the numbers I'm saying because it only gave a little more validation to the love that outpoured for the film. And she was extremely happy because it went beyond expectations. Do you feel that are you sensing that with this film? Because you know, the reactions are almost similar, I'm being honest. Are you nervous?
See, I'll be honest with you, Nan. For me, I find it very difficult to feel pride of my own work ever. And I am for the first time. And I think just that metric is enough for me. Just the fact that my body language at interviews for 3 days has been different to what it's ever been before.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming with a little bit of surety in my own self. I'm not feeling the need to entertain my interviewer with a rhyme or a joke.
Yeah.
You know, so that itself is victory for me. My mom is already proud of me. My father has messaged me saying he's moved. My dadi thinks that this is lovely. So as far as that kind of validation is concerned, I'm already happy. Now I just want audiences to see it and love it.
And when I spoke to you, I could feel that sense of attachment that you have towards this project, especially because we have had interviews with you for every film, but I do feel a deeper sense of connect that you have for this film. And why not, you know, why not? Do you sometimes feel, which I also feel and I've messaged you about, that you have this entertaining persona? Do you feel that sometimes that goes against you?
Yeah, it does. It does, because I think that people think that because I'm funny, or people think that because I'm, you know, silly or goofy, I can't be more than that. And I actually am silly and goofy. Like it comes up from an organic space.
Yeah.
I find it funny to do shairis. But then there's also this flip side, which is actually why honestly, like, a lot of respect to my mother and my friends, because they've handled it. So they made me think that the audiences can also handle it. Because when I'm funny, it's all fun and
Yeah.
games. And when I'm serious, they take me seriously. But I guess the audience doesn't know me like my family and friends do. So for them, it can get a little bit like, अरे यार ये तो जोकर ही है, ये क्यों रो रही है? या यार ये तो हमेशा फनी रहती है, ये कैसे सीरियस बात कर रही है? या अरे यार ये तो चकाचक वाली है, ये कैसे ए वतन कर रही है? But if it's my dream as an actor to, you know, embrace versatility, it's also just my makeup as a person to just be different. And that is who I am. And they are all honestly, organically me. So now what else can I say?
You have always been upfront about people not liking you, a piece of work that you've done if it has not connected with the audience. You've actually gone out of your way to accept it and admit that possibly it was a wrong move, or maybe you were not good in a particular film. But when the attacks are on your personality, does it bother you?
That doesn't bother me at all. That I don't care about. Because my work and the work of mine that's in the public domain is filmmaking. So if I'm not hitting the right note as an actor or as a dancer or in a performance at an award function, and you don't like it or the audience doesn't like it, then I'll feel bad. But how I am as a person is my business. And I mean, unless I'm trying to marry one of these people, which I'm not, then like I don't really care what they have to say.
But did it never get to you, even when you were young?
No. Personality has always been too atrangi from anybody's. So I've gotten used to this bach ke raho, hat ke raho kind of behavior in my life. So it doesn't actually bother me.
Do you feel it also comes from years of accepting yourself the way you are?
I
and you've
have.
been?
I've always accepted who I am. So honestly, any kind of apprehension comes like, agar isko kaam acha na laga ho. But as far as the person I am, I'm okay with it. I'm very comfortable.
Whenever I speak to Janvi, Ananya, and other people like you and people from this generation, the newer breed of actors, one thing is that whenever they feel people not liking their performances, do you have a sense of I have to overcompensate?
I used to feel that way, where I used to be like, oh my God, it's very important for me to like. But I realize it's a waste of energy because people are very smart. They will understand the difference between a good joke, a good Instagram picture, a hot photo shoot, and a good performance. And you cannot compensate one for the other. So don't do that. Forgive yourself if you've done work that you're not proud of, and promise yourself to only do work that you'll be proud of. And don't try to confuse yourself into thinking that a loud joke will distract from a bad performance. It won't.
But when you pick films like this, I remember Alia had done Student of the Year, and she was almost like, she was mercilessly trolled at that point. But then she came with a Highway, which was again completely off the chart. And then there was Urta Punjab, there was also Dear Zindagi, and of course Razi, that completely changed the game. You have also had those moments, right, where there was a career graph where people have actually tried to like judge you for your choices. Again, when an Atrangi came, people loved you. And again, when there's a Zara Hatke, Zara Bachke, there's also commercial acclaim and critical acclaim. And now there is Ae Watan Mere Watan. Do you somewhere feel that to be personal to you? Do you take it personally?
See, being an actor is a part of my life, Nan. It's not all I am.
Yeah.
But it's a very important part of who I am. It's the most important thing that I think I do. One of. It's very important. Let's just put it that way. I suddenly had images of me trekking and I was like, how do I categorize this? But no, ultimately, like, it is a journey. I think what's important is to keep going. Why am I an actor? Because I love my work. I love being on different sets. I love learning and exploring more about myself and my characters. I want to be able to tell different kinds of films. I want to be able to work with more filmmakers. Maybe today in March 2024, people are like, oh my God, Murder Mubarak and Zara and Ae Watan Mere Watan, what two? Itne alag films. If I pull both these off with conviction, then it'll be like, oh my God, she's versatile. And then there's no way to stop. The idea is to just keep growing and being better and better every day.
And I hope you do, because I feel that there is some genuineness in what you do. And I say that because, I also feel that some of the noise that comes to you is also the noise that most of us are dealing with on different levels, I feel today is a stage where anybody who is actually authentic and authentically making mistakes also, they are considered to either doing it for some kind of motive or, basically, if you have designer clothes, in your example, you will be considered privileged, and if you say that you don't have it, then you'll be saying she's just faking it. And either ways, you are gonna be judged. How do you deal with such situations? Does it ever get difficult emotionally? Because we don't get to see that.
To be honest with you, if you know in your heart now, if somebody calls me out on something that I know is right, like what used to bother me is when people started saying she's too loud. That bothered me because I realized that they are right. I am trying to overcompensate. But when people say, oh, she's pretending to be cheap and all, it doesn't bother me because anybody that really knows me will know the truth.
Yeah.
So, उसमें भी ना एक होता है कि अगर दर्शकों ने सही बात पे तुम्हें ताना मारा ना, तब बुरा लगता है because you're like, oh my God, actually, he is right. Actually, my jokes are too loud. And actually, I am attention seeking. And what am I trying to hide? Okay, I shouldn't do this. But if people are like, oh, she's too religious, oh, she's too... then I don't care. Because what I know comes from the heart and the soul doesn't bother me. So you have to know for yourself. कोई तुम्हें 1000 चीजें बोल देगा. लेकिन if you are guilty, अगर तुम्हारे मन में किसी एक चीज को लेकर चोर है, उसी का प्रभाव तुम पे पड़ेगा. The rest won't bother you.
That's true. And you come from a legacy which has had solid women, you know. And honestly, even your grandmother came back with a bang last year. And what a progressive film, what a progressive project. Do you look up to her filmography and your mother's filmography? Sometimes does it, as an artist, not as anything else, strive to do better? Like, some of your career choices right now, does it also have a relation with what your mum and your grandmom actually did in their prime?
I think what my mother and my grandmom do is they serve as an inspiration of the fact that there's no limit. You can do a Chameli Ki Shadi, you can do an
Yes.
Aradhna, you can do a Dag, you can do an Aina, and I can keep going.
Absolutely.
The idea is not that though. The idea is to have your own journey. They are just inspirations of the fact that if you have conviction in yourself, there is nothing stopping you. You know, they both worked after being mothers. So
Yes.
there is no, so they work more as an inspiration than a blueprint kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because for me, I know my journey is going to be my own journey.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I will do is work tirelessly every day to be better than I was yesterday. And I don't think there's any other way.
I think it's in the family, because I think even when you speak about your mom, your grandmom, Soha, you speak Sabah, not many people know about, but whoever knows will say the same. And Kareena, you know, I think it's trickled down that way where people have never really conformed to the societal industry norms, and people have. The men in the family have also never pushed them to conform to certain norms. Do you feel that's a privilege as an entire family?
Honestly, I'm done giving, like, I believe women are so strong that I don't even want to walk around being like, oh, I'm proud of these women for striking the balance. Let's just take it as the normal now.
Yeah.
That is when
It is
it's
the normal.
equality. When we don't say that the men in the family allow them to work. When we don't make
Yeah.
statements like that, now then we've reached an even higher level. When we stop saying, oh, Kareena's so professional, she has 2 children and she works.
Yeah.
Let that just be the normal.
It is the
Because
normal.
women can do it. And Kareena's shown that she can. My grandmother's shown
Yes.
years before that. My mother's shown.
Yes.
So let that just be the normal to the point where we don't even need to talk about it anymore.
You know, when we talk about strong women, I will actually have to speak about your mum, because your mum has seen the highs and lows in her life, professionally, personally, and she doesn't do interviews. So whenever I feel something nice about you or her, I just text her, and she replies with that thank you. And ma'am has seen she's worked for you and for Ibrahim to give you guys a life, and you've seen, you know, you were old enough to understand the gravity of those situations. Today is Women's Day also, and she's also been a solid rock to you, also been your biggest critic, if I'm wrong.
100%.
If I'm right. So tell me something, that what is it about your mother that inspires you, or her part of journey which has inspired you, and as a kid and now?
You know, I'll tell you the truth, actually. And like growing up, now, mom was unlike any of my other friends' moms. She doesn't know how to drive and she doesn't know how to cook. So I used to feel very bad till one day she turned around and she said, how many of your friends' parents know how to act and ride horses? Because I do. And I was like, okay, I'm literally never saying anything to the heroine of Mard ever again. Because I suddenly was like, okay, she knows her business. But I think that my mom is just the best, like, in the world. I think that she's never made Ibrahim and me feel like we might lack anything. She's given us wings to fly. She's also been our grounding factor to make sure we don't fly too high.
Yeah.
She's been my mirror. She's been my inspiration. She's done it all single-handedly. And I have a lot more support from a lot more people than my mother ever had growing up. And if she has reached where she has, I better hell get 1/10 of the way. And if I get 1/10 of the way, I'm home.
Absolutely. What was the reaction to Ae Watan Mere
She
Watan?
loves it. She's so proud of it. There are moments of the trailer that have made her cry. She's actually watched parts of the film.
Oh, she's only watched parts.
Parts of the film. And she is very, very proud. And she just can't wait for everybody to see what...
Has everybody else watched the movie?
No.
Okay. But I think everybody is going to be really, really proud of you, your choices, because I'll again say this, that, you know, in a world where we are actually, in a world of make-believe, you actually come across as somebody who's authentic to yourself, and you don't need to be authentic to anybody else but yourself.
You can't be an end because they're already there.
Yeah.
I'm done trying to be anybody but who I 100% am. So this is it.
And I just feel that this is gonna be one of those career-defining films for you, and I'm glad that it came to you, because you, being a history buff, would understand the nuances much better, because I don't think so many people in this industry are that educated to understand it. But at the same time, I hope we do a longer conversation once we watch the movie, because there'll be so much to look forward to and speak about. But I would just, while leaving, I'll just say that if it's not about me, I'm from the media and I'll actually watch all the trailers. But I did get a call from my mother, and she said that, you know, the radio they showed, it's exactly like the radio that Bapi had in his album, and they have gone out of their way to shoot it as authentic. And the whole idea of the lighting and the tonality and the whole backdrop, genuinely it's something that people have to connect with when it's a period film, and people are doing it from generations, and I hope it works wonders for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for this conversation.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.